long time. I have an email from Ms. Robert from February of 2023. Ms. Robert and the district attorney's office sought out us to sit down and talk to Ms. Driver at the jail in an attempt to work this case out. I take issue with the assertion by the state that we categorically rejected the felony murder, guilty but mentally ill, life with parole option. What we have always strived for in this case was a reduction in the charge that appropriately reflected the mitigation that Ms. Driver suffered, the mental illness aspect of it, but I'll also go back to this email. This was at the request of the state to sit down and talk to Ms. Driver at the jail. This was also at a time where the district attorney's office was well aware that there had been communication for a very long period of time with Mr. Ben Michael at the jail. In that email, the purpose of this case, the meeting, was to determine what information Ms. Driver possessed about the criminal culpability of Ben Michael, aka Brian Joyce, which could be presented at a proper under oath under any potential plea of guilty that she may enter. The way that Ms. Robert is categorizing the plea negotiations in this case are inaccurate. The state, during that meeting, Ms. Driver told the district attorney's office and myself she was continuing to contact Mr. Ben Michael, provided them information that they didn't previously have, which subsequently led to the discovery of a bunch of other phone calls. Ms. Driver told them that. She was honest with them about it. What the state is not talking about here is the suicide aspect that was involved in this case, that the state was looking at this from all angles with the other people's involvement in terms of criminal culpability, but also with regards to her mental health. That has always been what this case is about. She exercised her right to trial because she has the right to do that. She exercised her right to trial because the state of Georgia, despite these plea negotiations and the evidence in front of them, did not want to recognize the mental health aspect and what we were asking for in terms of a lesser charge. Ms. Driver exercised her right to trial to show this world what that gentleman is like, what life with him is like, to put before this world that she is not the only victim of this person, and that in an attempt that maybe other people will be aware of what this involves. She has always accepted responsibility for the actions. We saw it at the hospital. We saw it with Detective Cruz. We've seen it in subsequent interviews with the experts. She has never denied what happened. She's never denied what she did and what she did to herself. And she understands what needs to be happen. At this point in time, Judge, the fact that she's talking to another individual is irrelevant. She's allowed to do that. They're not talking to you about any of the phone calls where she's been talking to her parents about what happened. There are plenty of phone calls where she's on the phone with her mom and her dad, hysterical in tears about what happened and knowing what it did to them and to everybody else that is affected by this.
The state has the right to conclude. Anything else that you wanted to say, Ms. Rock? And then I'll let y'all approach the lectern, and I'll hear from
I would just like to say that the defense's stated objection with regard to all of the sexting she was doing during the trial was relevance, not dispute as to whether it occurred. The state served all of those on the defense. It didn't find it necessary to read every disgusting message into the record, but the state's position is that her general moral character is admissible at a pre-sentence hearing, so it is relevant, and it also demonstrates a lack of remorse in terms of the timing and the context of when those messages occurred in relation to the days we were watching her daughter die on video and reviewing the autopsy photographs. That is the reason the state brought that information before you. So I would just like to make that clear.
All right, Ms. Trethewey, and Mr. Kessler, if you want to approach as well, Ms. Driver, you can come to the lectern and make any kind of statement that you'd like to. If you will place her under oath, please.
Want me here? Yes, I will. Okay. All right, Chloe, for the first thing I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you raise your right hand. Do you swear the information and testimony you're about to give this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. You're going to have to speak up. I know that you're fairly soft-spoken, so were you able to get that? All right, go ahead.
I appreciate the opportunity to be heard during this whole process. I am terribly sorry for many things in my life, but most of all for who was lost, and I always will be. Every single day I live with my guilt. I have drowned in sorrow and regret with such an acute awareness of it for so long, I never imagined there would be anything more than that for me. Quite frankly, I didn't believe I deserved anything more than just that. In the past, I genuinely believed I had to die every day for my daughter, to hate myself for my failure in protecting her. But I know now that life goes on whether I suffer or not, so I need to stop taking from it. I know now that I must live for my daughter instead and do the best I can to be kind and loving and giving, because that's exactly what being with Hannah taught me. I see her everywhere, in everything. She lives on and shows me that beauty can be found anywhere, even where I'm going, because I can feel her in my tears. I feel her in my friend's embrace. I see her in a stranger's kindness, in someone's undiluted joy at seeing their loved one. I hear her in people's laughter, and I know her most of all in my family's loyal love for me, even still. No matter how bad our losses, life can be good again, and this is not my end. I accept my punishment with peace, and I want it to be known for every person that has prayed for me, that our Father has heard you, and I have been given a contentment that the world cannot take away. My daughter's memory rests now, so I am able to as well. I want it to be said that no one ever plans to lose control of their own mind. This trial was only a snapshot of my life and mind. It's easy to review the past and say what could have been done differently. It's even easier to say what someone should have done. But that's just it. In the midst of a terrifying situation, you can't actually think. The horror and fear you feel clouds your thinking abilities and disconnects you from reality. So though I may not legally meet the definition of insanity as of today, I know in the bottom of my heart that I was, because I never would have done what I did had it not been for my decompensation. In the end, we can't go back and undo the bad, no matter how much we want to, but we can learn from it and prevent it from happening again. I will continue to seek help for my mental illness because of this. I read once that suffering is cheap as clay and twice as common. What matters, though, is what each man makes of it, and I promise I will make the best of whatever you give me, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yeah, y'all stay. Yes. I have continued to think about this case after the verdict.